Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished delegates, all protocols observed.
Can you speak close to the mic, please?
Excuse me?
Can you speak close to the mic?
Okay. The Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic welcomes the report of the Special Rapporteur on freedom of expression and access to information in Africa, who happens to also be the Commissioner covering the Sahrawi Republic, and commends the attention she paid to these crucial freedoms. We also encourage Her Excellency to undertake more interactive communications and interactions with the Sahrawi civil society, human rights defenders and victims of violations, and we are ready to facilitate her task should she require our assistance. Sorry. Meanwhile, the Sahrawi Republic expresses grave concerns over the systematic suppression of freedom of expression and of access to information in the occupied territories of Western Sahara. Despite international legal obligations, Moroccan colonial authorities continue to employ repressive measures to silence Sahrawi voices advocating for self-determination and human rights. Human Rights Watch reports that Moroccan authorities have escalated harassment of activists, journalists, and human rights defenders, subjecting them to unfair trials and detentions. Laws criminalizing nonviolent speech, particularly those challenging Morocco's claim over Western Sahara, are routinely and systematically enforced to asphyxiate opposition. The use of spyware against activists further exemplifies the extent of repression. Amnesty International's Security Lab found that Aminatu Haidar, a multi-human rights award-winning human rights defender, was targeted and infected by Pegasus spyware between 2018 and 2021. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention determined that Sahrawi media activist Mohammed al-Bambari was arbitrarily detained by Moroccan authorities, violating his due process rights. The working group called for his immediate release and reparation, something that never happened. Moroccan authorities have also misused laws to silence reporters. In 2019, Nazha Khalidi, affiliated with Equipe Media in El Ayoun, was arrested for live streaming a street scene and accused of not meeting the requirements to call herself a journalist. She faced up to 2 years in prison if convicted. Amnesty International reports also that authorities have restricted dissent and the right to peaceful assembly. In May 2023, police surveilled the house of activist Mahfouz al-Fqir in Laayoune, beating visitors and verbally insulting her family. In September, law enforcement officers forcibly dispersed a peaceful protest in Laayoune, assaulting at least 23 Sahrawi protesters. These actions constitute a clear violation of international human rights standards, including the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The Sahrawi Democratic Republic urged the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to take decisive actions to address these violations and ensure the protection of freedom of expression and access to information in Western Sahara. We kindly call upon the Commission to condemn the ongoing suppression of freedoms of expression and access to information in Western Sahara. Urge Moroccan authorities to cease harassment, arbitrary detention of activists, journalists, and human rights defenders, to advocate for independent investigations into allegations of abuse and surveillance against Sahrawi activists, to support the establishment of a permanent mechanism to monitor human rights in Western Sahara. In conclusion, the Sahrawi people remain steadfast in their pursuit for self-determination and justice. We appeal to the international community to stand in solidarity with our struggle and to uphold the principles of human and people's rights and dignity for all, without exclusion or exception. I thank you. The Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic welcomes the report of the chairperson of the Committee for the Prevention of Torture in Africa and commends its attention to these crucial freedoms. Sahrawi Republic takes this opportunity to express its deep concern regarding the ongoing and systematic use of torture and ill treatment by the Moroccan forces of illegal occupation against Sahrawi civilians, prisoners, peaceful demonstrators, and human rights defenders in the territory of Western Sahara under Moroccan occupation. Reports by United Nations human rights mechanisms have consistently documented this disturbing reality. The United Nations Committee Against Torture, in its concluding observations on Morocco, expressed serious concern over credible allegations of torture and ill treatment, particularly in relation to Sahrawi detainees and human rights defenders. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has issued numerous opinions confirming the arbitrary detention of Sahrawi activists, often based on confessions extracted under torture. The case of the Gdeim Ezekiel group is emblematic in this case. Sahrawi human rights defenders detained were sentenced based on coerced confessions obtained under severe torture, documented by international observers, international human rights NGOs, and denounced by United Nations special prosecutors. Despite repeated calls for impartial investigation and fair trials, Morocco continues to ignore its international obligations in total impunity. Furthermore, the Moroccan authorities systematically target Sahrawi journalists, students, and peaceful protesters with brutal beatings, harassment, and enforced disappearances, creating a climate of fear and impunity and exercising what appears to be a systematic policy to dissuade Sahrawi civilians from protesting for their rights to self-determination and freedom. We call on the African Commission and its special mechanisms to urge Morocco to grant unfettered access to Western Sahara for the African Commission for Human and People Rights and relevant African and UN special procedures on torture. Demand that Morocco ceases all acts of torture and ill treatment and complies fully with its obligations under African and international conventions and instruments against torture. Recognize the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and ensure protection from reprisals and systemic abuse under colonial occupation. In conclusion, Mr. Chairperson, distinguished delegates, justice and accountability for torture cannot be sacrificed in the name of political expediency or diplomatic nuances. We urge the Commission to act decisively in full implementation of its mandate under the African Union Charter and under other relevant human rights instruments to protect the rights of the Sahrawi people and all victims of torture and other forms of ill treatment. Thank you very much.